Did he respond to your text?
Good morning. Today's date, the 24th of July, 2022, and I'm here with a famous Dominican singer, one of the founding members of the WCK band, sometimes and often referred to as the Bouillon King of Dominica, Derick Peters. Good morning, Mr. Peters.
Good morning, good morning. It's a real good morning to say good morning. I want to give thanks to the Most High for awarding me the opportunity to be having that conversation, which is so important for the want of information and want of documenting, you know, such great information that need to be shared, you know.
Indeed, indeed. Derick, you know, you and I have known each other from childhood. I believe we attended the Roseau Mixed Infant School, and where else did we go to school together? Did we go to school as well?
Well, we did mixed school. Then we did Goodwill School. Yeah,
yes,
for
yes,
Goodwill
yes.
School is the fun memory for because we went to mixed school. We was really small that time.
Yes, yes.
But when we went to Goodwill School, we were a little more mature. And when you say mature, we don't mean in double figures, you know. It's just like we passed like 4 and 5 years old, and
Yes.
now we're like 6 and 7 years old, you know.
That's right.
By then, to be 7 years old, you feel like, yeah, you arrived, you're big, you know. Yeah.
Indeed. Derick, I wanted to interview you because it's so important for nation building and for the preservation of our heritage and those who are coming from behind to get a sense of our heroes or sheroes or culture, journey through time as a people, as a collective. And so where we have a keen sense of our origins and the noble facets of those origins, the things we did to transform our lives, to contribute to civilization, not only on a national level, but on a global level, you then, certainly I do see the need. Irvin, Andre, and I, through Poncassi Press, for instance, we sought to record our history through word, using literature to speak of our historical, profile as a people, not just Dominican, but Caribbean. I thought it important to speak to the musical form that you have sort of made manifest, called Bouillon music. But before I get into the details of how that came to be, let me ask you, Derick, where were you born and when were you born?
I was born in the 60s, so that make me a real big man.
Were you born in 60 or 61?
60.
60.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what month?
November. I'm a November month. Yeah, November.
Was it
18th.
November 3rd, Independence Day?
November the 18th. Well, like I shared the 18th with both my mother and my father. My father was the 18th of February. It just passed last year. So it's just into about a year. This month we got a year on the 20th.
Our condolences. Our condolences.
Yeah. And my mother was the 18th of August, of course. August approaching there now. And she passed through, you know. So
your mom left as well?
Yeah.
My condolences as well. How old was your dad when he passed?
94.
Outstanding. And your mom?
My mom was I think she was 82 or something like that.
Yes,
I think
yes.
it was somewhere about, something around.
But Derick, you know, that generation, our parents, you know, my mom is 93, or dad died at 90. I mean, those are good scores on a global scale. They way exceeded, you know, because right now, I think on a global scale, the average life expectancy is maybe in high 50s, huh? Wow. You know, in the developed countries, you know, you're talking about 75 on average, and Dominica Dominica's on average. You know, at least our parents' generation, they live into their 80s. You know, most of them, you know, I mean, we have a high level of centenarians. Yeah, but I don't want to get off course. So, what was your father's name, and what was your mother's name?
My father was named Lawrence Peters. He was born in Granby, Berwick. I came down to town of an early age. We just talk about his name, and I guess we could go into other little details about the nitty-gritty. My mom is Magdalene Joseph. She was born in Rosalie. And like my father, she came to town like when she in Roseau, Dominica, when she was like 7 years old. So she practically grew up in Roseau. And,
Yes.
and so my father was, you know, and both of them seem to have met each other in River Street, which we describe as the capital of Roseau. Because
Yes.
I mean, knowing River Street was the place where, you know, all the action was. When anybody came to town, they had to pass for River Street.
Yes,
But,
yes. And so
my profession,
just so Derek, so the listening audience may understand, Roseau, the capital of Dominica, which at the time we were born was a British colony, part of the British West Indies, gets its name from the Roseau River. I think it's one of the few Caribbean countries with a river running through it. So the river separates Pottersville and Goodwill from Roseau Central. And the River Street is that street right alongside the banks of the river. I remember as a child, there was a blacksmith, Mr. Caesar, I believe, and then there was there's even the steel man in River Street, and a lot of things happening in River Street. So you're very right.
River Street was really bubbling. River Street was really bubbling before a lot of mechanics, a lot of street mechanics there. You know, you had Daniel, Al Capone, you know, all these guys are deceased, Tall Boy, you know, there's quite a few of them that used to be in River Street because there was like a street garage, you know, from the top.
Yes, well, I mean, I think just so Dominicans of the 21st century understand. I think River Street was the street where the only blacksmith shop that I remembered was on the banks of the Rose River. That was Mr. Caesar. I remember him.
Right, Mr. Caesar. Well, there was one on River, both of them were on River Bank. There was one on the extreme end that's close to where it's called the New Market. There used to be the old market. And there's one to the top of the river bank. There was another blacksmith garage right there. So when Mr. Caesar, Alan Caesar, left the end part of Riverbank, he went to the top part. So he was working in both of the blacksmith shops there.
Amazing, yeah. So in those days, you know, it's interesting because Dominica was a sugar island with sugar factories, and so if you had with the sugar industry was an industry of iron because you need you had boilers and you had what you call the tesh, the big pot and so on to boil the molasses into the fine granules, and so you had to have blacksmiths to manage the repair, and we also had Elrose and Company. So you know, in many ways, Dominica was very much more industrialized than we know it today. I even remember a street side mechanic or tinsmith by the name of Susie Moosey, who would actually take old cans and so on and fashion funnels, cups, you know, like when you went to the rum shop in the for Gill of rum, you had to have a measuring cup. You'd make those cups, you know, right there on the side of the road, you'd make cups, you know.
Yeah, well, he was one of those. He was one of those. Muzi was one of those, and there was a guy, Fonso, they used to call him. For people of great age like us would remember Fonso playing mass and pouring powder on himself and all that kind of a thing there.
Yes.
Fonso was a tinsmith also.
Tinsmith. So you're coming up. You're coming up in a street with a lot of mechanics. Who are repairing things. Blacksmiths who are making and repairing things. Tinsmiths who are making things. So you came up out of a very productive environment. And you also in that street had bakers, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Well, where I was raised, I came from the baking family. Actually, so some people that will remember Mina Robinson, she was the one that owned the bakery, and we were raised there, you know, and all my extended family, my cousins. So we had that's what we really call like extended family. We had cousins there, we had aunts there, we had uncles there, we had grandmothers there, we had mothers there, and you know, a whole spread, you know. So
let me ask you a question.
Really
let me ask you a question. Did your family also, as a way of its livelihood, bake for a living? I mean, did you?
We baked. We baked, but wasn't like every day. We baked but more or less on the weekend. So on Thursday we'd bake for Friday and Saturday. But otherwise, they will, of course, we do things like wedding cakes and stuff like that, which we were big on. As a matter of fact, like places like France that a lot of people know for making pastries and stuff like that. Actually, they used to use our bakery. They used to bring their stuff to bake in our bakery, and we were the first, actually, that started doing all the pâté coco, the pâté banane, and the meat pies, the fine cakes, the fruit cakes. We had a variety of pastry style cakes. I think that particular lady was, I think her origin was from French Guyana. I think she had some connection with French Guyana. My brother Lionel Leslie would know more of the history than me of that part, because some of that I wouldn't really know, but now he would know and maybe explain, better. But now from my knowledge, she had some family from French Guyana.
Yes. Now,
she was speaking a lot of Creole. So where I raised up there now, though we had I used to be going to the country now and then, but now we had a lot of people come into the bakery now, just speaking Creole, And as you know, Dominica was like a Creole speaking place, before the British took over,
Well, just so that
a lot of Creole.
Yeah, so there, just so the listening audience, those who may not be Dominicans or may be familiar with Dominican history can understand. Dominica is an island, the Commonwealth of Dominica, as it's called now, in the former British West Indies, like Bahamas, Jamaica, and so on. But in the earlier days of colonization, the European powers, the French, the Spanish, because sugar was so much of a wealth-producing enterprise, they fought over the islands. And so at one point, Dominica was French. That would be in the 1700s, and then the British, by the end of the 1700s, coming into the 19th century, the British, through naval supremacy, won over Dominica. But Martinique to the south of Dominica and Guadeloupe to the north remained French. But we had a strong French culture, and Creole is broken French, interspersed or intermingled with some African words and some English words, but it's broken French. And that broken French was kept strong because of the constant cross-fertilization between Martinique and Guadeloupe, because Dominica being so close, people would travel. You also had blended families where some of the members were French in their birth. They were born in the French islands, and we actually had politicians. There were issues with politicians who were actually French citizens. But they grew up in Dominica because people travel. And during World War II, Dominicans received a lot of French refugees who ran away from the Germans when Germany defeated France. So that culture was being reflected in your household by people coming from the countryside speaking what they call patois.
Oh yeah, right. But that
were you fluent in patois, Derek?
Yeah, was that?
Were you fluent?
Well, when we were growing up there, it was rude to respond in patois. You were allowed. You could listen. They could speak to you in patois, but you was not allowed to respond. So
stop right there, Derek. Derek, what you're saying is very important for young Dominicans to understand. You're saying that in those days, as our parents sought to educate us in the English system, they actively discouraged us from speaking patois. Speak to that.
Well, correct. For instance, they would say, my mother would tell me, Derick Ulaukali, and I have to say, I go now there, ma. Lau sorti outside. Vini ici, yes, ma. Saka fedowala, nothing, ma. So, because I refer to her as ma. Some people are the mommy, some people are the mommy, but I are the ma. You check? And I used to feel strange too when everybody calling, yes, mommy. Yes, mommy. And I'd be like, yes, ma, I find ma song in kind of a dread, but now after I get to really embrace when I was calling my mother ma.
Yes,
it mean a lot,
So your mother was talking to you in French Creole.
Yeah, French
and you
Creole.
were responding to her in English.
In English, yes.
And that was because they didn't want it to affect your education in a negative way, because you're taught in English, your exams were in English, and the civil service and the government, everything ran on the English language. Am I right?
Well, partially right, because now the other thing is that I think it was a matter of you're not on their level, you're not a grown person, you're not their age, you're not their size, you're not their camarade, as we call it there, you're not their comrade, for you to respond to them, because it would sound kind of as if rude for you to respond to them in that kind of a way. So it was more fitting for you to respond in English to let you know, well, yes, they have a level over you, and they have a little more authority over you. So I think it was more in that light than not being able to speak it. Because when I used to go to the country, my aunts would never check that as nothing, because no, when you're speaking to them, you'd say, we'll be speaking patois. They speaking patois to me, I speaking back patois to them. So no, there was a way of exercising, you know, my Creole. Yeah.
So you gave us your parents' names earlier, but just give it to me one more time, and I'm going to ask you about your siblings, who you know, brothers and sisters. Give us your father's name one more time and your mother's name one more time.
Well, my father is Lawrence Peters. A lot of people just call him Laurie, you know.
Lawrence Peters. And his main, would you say his main occupation was that a baker, or did he have another job?
No. My father wasn't involved in that baking stuff at all. That was my mother. My father was involved in teaching. He used to be teaching in technical college. For people who remember technical college, he was teaching at technical college. Of course, he taught at Goodwill School as well. He taught at Goodwill School. He taught in Portsmouth. He taught in Maho, and he was a woodwork instructor. So
I see.
The woodwork shop, you know. Remember, he used to go to the woodwork shop. By that time, it's people like Arlene that was in charge. You know, Martin Arlene.
That's right.
Because my father was gone. I think when I just came to Goodwill School, because he was the one that I asked for me to change school, because I didn't like what was happening in Roseau. I used to be heckled. I think what we used to call the kawat, that too much kawat in Roseau. You know what I mean?
And for those who are listening, the kawat is a street urchin, a street boy.
Yes. And I think I used to get a little heckled and stuff like that, especially by two main guys. These two main guys, they used to give me a hard time. So I told my father I want to change the school. So instead of going to Roseau School, which I didn't like the name after all, I never liked the name.
Well, it's interesting, Derek. Stick a pin in that. I was speaking to the famous Dominican calypso named Keith Ito, Tronada.
Yeah.
And he told me, Gabe, you remember you and I went to Goodwill School? I was in Goodwill School. So you went to Goodwill School with us then?
Actually, Tronada and Manek end up going to Goodwill School because they remember Roseau Boys School was burnt. It got burnt in the 70s, right? Somewhere in the 70s, I remember. And remember, we were changing shift. If you remember, that then is when we changed shift doing the 8 to 1, and they would do the afternoon session. I think that's how they end up in Goodwill School. But they was not original Goodwill School guys.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. No. I didn't mean Goodwill School. I'm sorry. Girls' school. So what happened was so after we left mixed school, I was at girls' school for 1 semester, and then I went to Goodwill School.
Yeah, well, I stayed in girls' school maybe 2 semesters.
Yes.
What we call 2 terms, second term.
2 terms. Yes. Second.
Yeah, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it there. First, when people used to ask me the question, which school are you going to? And for me to answer, Roseau Girls School, I checked myself, it was a little bit embarrassing. Number one.
Yeah, so for those persons who don't understand, the Roseau Girls School had a little boys section.
Yes, a mixed school. It was a mixed school. It was an extension of mixed school where we went to. The reason why they call it mixed school is that boys and girls. So they used to call it mixed school.
Yes.
So when we move across, though it had the boys' school and the girls' school, you had to pass, I think, maybe standard 3 or somewhere above.
Yes.
For you to graduate and go to boys' school.
Right.
Which had the extension of shak-shak.
Yes.
And the girls would do the Roseau Girls School, all girls. And the boys would do Roseau Boys School, all boys. But now in that transition, now you had to do that standard 3, which was boys and girls. But of course, the school belonged at the time to Roseau Girls School. So it was called Roseau Girls School. So fellas asking you, or people ask you, which school are you going to? And you have to sheepishly say, Roseau Girls School. That's embarrassing.
Yes, little boys in Roseau go to Roseau Girls School.
Second reason was the kind of a heckling I used to get at that school. So I was very happy when I make that transfer to Goodwill School. So as I say, my father taught in that. Of course, he studied in England as well. And of course,
so was he focused on technical skills or just woodworking?
He was involved in building also, the building trades, you know.
Yes.
So he was in cabinet making, carpentry, the building trades. So he was like a general, you know, practitioner in that kind of
And
way.
let me just ask a question before we go to talk about your mother's name again and your siblings, about education in those days. You had a lot more focus on technical skills like gardening, woodworking,
Yeah,
metalworking. So
yeah.
technical skills or vocational skills, would you say that was there was a greater focus on that in our time?
Oh, most definitely. That's without a doubt. Because if you remember, and of late, until when it kind of fade out to me in the last 20 years, I would think, that skills, we were actually exporting people to the Virgin Islands, to St. Thomas, well, St. Thomas and Croix, the Virgin Islands, of course, St. Martin, Antigua, you just name it. Oh, do ask for this, the states, the mainland itself. You just name it. We had a lot of, we used to actually export people, you know, we were exporting people. I mean,
And when is exporting, it means exporting skilled people.
well, yes, when I say exporting people in that kind of a way, and I was just gonna give you my reasoning for saying that, because of late, the two main things that main exports that we have in Dominica right now are people and our money. We check, we export those, you know, and we may get into that a little later. But basically, that's what I think to myself right now. If you ask me, we really at a, I don't know if it's a crossroads, but in a sad place right now to see that we have to be importing skilled people. We're talking about just anyone. For instance, the tailoring and seamstress skills that we had. If you remember, we were ready with that, right?
We
Right
had
now,
Mababa, we had Sun Style, we had, you know,
because
my Trini had a factory.
Roseau and my cousins, you know the type of garments they were producing. And
we had garment factories. We had garment factories in
right, and right now, there's nothing happening there. Nothing. I mean, actually, it's like Haitians, you know, sad to say they are our brothers and sisters, but no, right now we in a very compromising position, you know. I mean, really and truly, you know, they are all about in the place, and we know we come like almost second-class citizens now, and it's shameful. And we may get into that area, but no, I think we have so much other fish to fry.
Yes,
you know, so
yes, indeed.
we go along, you know. But basically, the skills we used to really export, you know, skilled people we used to export. Right now,
You're talking carpenters, you're talking plumbers, you're talking welders, you're talking mechanics.
Yeah, you just talk about it. I mean, Dominica was really bubbling with that until when the average person could do everything. They're mason, they're tailor, everybody was like multi-skilled. Right now, you cannot find not even one skill in a person, you know, besides just being on a computer and stuff, you know, basically.
So you're saying that we need to really regenerate or revive rather the vocational education aspect of our education system.
It was a sad day when they decided to get rid of the I think it's GSP program, they call it, the junior secondary program, where they were teaching you skills. But you know, fortunate for us, when we went to Goodwill School, there was the science lab, there was home ec, woodwork shop, and even after a while, they even extended and they had a mechanic shop right in there. I mean, if you pass in the old building, Goodwill School, you'll see where they have the well where the mechanics could go, so they could inspect under the car, where they have built that. They had electronics. I mean, you just name it. And I think Goodwill School was a really a model school. It was a model school because now it prepared you, because most children will leave in school about like 14, 15, if you didn't do the common entrance, if you didn't do very well in the common entrance, and if you didn't really do well in the school living, where you could get a transfer, you know. But by then you were well skilled, you know.
Yes.
You were well skilled, but now right now, you know, it's sad. So now as we hit
before you go on, let me just say, for those who are listening and may not know, the Goodwill School, the Goodwill Junior High School, which is what it was called in our time, was a gift to the government of Dominica, led then by Chief Minister Edward Oliver LeBlanc. Dominica is still a colony in Britain, by the Canadian government. It was in that time, I think, maybe the best school in way of its amenities. You know, it had, as you say, all these amenities. I remember it had a automatic public announcement system. It had
Yep.
a fire alarm. It had the woodwork shop. You
Yep.
know, many different things. Home economic center. You know, the chairs and just the whole setup was very modern.
Yep. I think that's what really impressed me when I went to Goodwill School. You know, as you know, we used to take our chairs and slide it down the corridor. You know,
That's right.
everybody did that thing there.
And there were chairs that were different from the chairs we knew at the mixed school. The chairs and tables or desks we knew at the mixed school were made of wood.
Yeah, but they
school,
were benches. Actually, they weren't ready.
There were benches and they were desks. But at the Goodwill School, there were this fiberglass, sort of very modernistic.
Yes.
Fiberglass and metal. So the legs of the chairs, we had individual chairs, not benches. They were made of fiberglass with metal legs, and the tables also fiberglass with metal legs, imported, but very modern. And in fact, I would tell you, during government events, they would sometimes borrow the chairs to bring to the Windsor Park or to the gardens. I remember several times going through some homes in Roseau, and I'd see chairs, I'd see old school chairs at people's homes.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately. But that's enough. I don't want to get off topic, but tell us about you. So your father was a member of the staff at the Goodwill School and later the Tech College. So he was working really as a civil servant, would you say?
Yes, teacher.
He was a government employee.
Back in the day, that's what we call them. Yeah, a civil
servant. Yes.
Yeah.
And was your mother then focused entirely on the baking?
Yeah, my mother was totally focused on that, really. So that's what she did. She vended and so ice cream and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and you gave us her name earlier, but just give it to me again. She's from Rosalie. Give us her name one more time.
Oh yeah, her name is Magdalene Joseph.
Magdalene Joseph. So your mother then is focused on the baking, but you just said she also did ice cream. So she was an entrepreneur. She was an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah. So there's where I pick up a couple of skills, because now we used to have our little trays out, you know, coming Christmas or whatever event would be coming up there, then we'd have, you know, have our trays set up, you know, with toys or biscuits, you know, and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, so
just so people understand
that kind of stuff there, you know.
Just so people understand, those who are living in the 21st century, what Dominica was like in those days, when there would be like a carnival event or something in the Windsor Park, like a football game, vendors would come in those days with a tray, a wooden tray.
Yeah, you would have a tray.
And the tray would have been about maybe 2 or 3 feet, maybe wide and maybe 2 feet deep. And or whatever, you know, maybe 3 feet square. And you would have your different eats, or if it was other things, you'd have it in that tray, and vendor and customers would come up and buy from you. So what were the kind of things you'd have in your tray, for instance, there?
Well, you'd have biscuits, you'd have corn curls, you'd have, of course, what we used to call Max before. You remember Max?
Yeah, that's the chewing gum, the English chewing gum.
The one with cube. Then it moved to chiclet, then chewgum, and mostly those type of stuff there, you know, to attract.
But that's when you talk about conkers, those are the important things, some of which came later. But in the early days, we had our local eats. Give us some of the local eats.
Well, with that now, of course, you would have things like ice cream, of course, the cakes and stuff like that. Most definitely, you have to have the cakes. The cakes must be present in there. So
did you all make things like coconut tablet and so on?
Yeah, you'd have coconut tarts, you'd have meat pies, you'd have what we call the patty banan. You know, as I recall, we were the first doing patty banan. I never know anybody else doing patty banan.
And that's like a pastry with banana inside of it.
With the plantain in it. Yeah.
Plantain, yes.
Yeah, the plantain in it. So we'd have, of course, the fine cakes, you know, of course, ice cream. Well, we wasn't too heavy into tablet and coconut cheese. That was what my grandmother from Goodwill. Remember, Granny used to be selling a tablet and coconut cheese and tambourine jam and guava jam and guava jelly and all that there at Goodwill School, right?
That's right. That's right.
That was Granny. Father mother. Yeah,
that's right. Let me ask you a question. How many siblings did you have, brothers and sisters? Tell us and give us your name.
By mother is it would be 5, but now when I was just born, I was like 3 months old. My first sister died. She was a shilling foot. She was that's my mother's first child. She would be about maybe 15 or 16 years old when she died. You know, I think my mom had her early. And
What was the name? You remember her name?
her name was Honora Shillingford.
I see.
And there's after him, that's my brother, Lionel Leslie. They call him Lion, they call him Leslie, all kind of a lie, all kind of fancy names like that, Lio. And there's Hazel. This one is same mother, same father of me, Hazel. And there's myself, then my last sister named Heather Prentice. Yeah, so that's it on my mother's side. On my father's side, there's about maybe 9 of us. Yeah, somewhere about 9 of us, yeah. So there's Daryl, there's Elderlin, there's Hazel, my sister, of course. And there's Gabriel, like you, but not you. There's that's Derick, that's me, that's Glenn. There's after Glenn, there's Annette, there's Junior, who's Junior Lawrence Peters, and Yasmin. So 9, I was correct. Yeah.
Nice. No, there's a brother you have. So I know you, and there's a brother I think is closer to you. He went either to the SMA or the grammar school. And I remember, you know, when I left, I think he used to have dreadlocks. What was his name?
Oh, that one is Lionel Leslie. That one is my brother by mother.
Yes,
This one,
yes.
which was very, very close with. And
That's the one I know the best. That's the brother I know the best. That's the sibling I know the best.
Because now we kind of grow up like, you know, every day, you know, we together because like we were closest. Because, you know, back in the days, there's the mother raising them children, you know, so you all the mother children together. This other
When did you go to school? Was it SMA or grammar school?
You took a bit of grammar school, then after you went to SMA, you transferred to SMA.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, and from him, from other people too, but now from him, I learned a lot from people like, I learned off a lot of people like Martin Luther, Che Guevara especially,
yes.
Fidel Castro,
yes.
Marcus Garvey to some extent.
Yes.
Malcolm X especially, because now he was the one bringing in a lot of the Jet magazines. If you remember Jet and Ebony.
Of course, there's Ebony and there's Jet magazine.
Jet.
Those were African-American magazines.
But now the main ones were Jet and Ebony. He was one that brought a lot of those type of literature. Though I couldn't read all those books, but I would see certain pictures and maybe read a little excerpt, you know, of the thing. Being that I was in the movement, because I kind of raised up in that vibe with the Black Power movement.
So stick a pin in that. We're talking in those days, there was a library on Canal Lane that was run by the Movement for New Dominica. That was the Black Power movement.
Right, yes.
That was when things like African Liberation Day marches started coming in. And we had a bookstore called CB's on Cock Street where you had a lot of those magazines.
Right. CB's, there was CB's. SPCK more deal with the school books, but CB's then you could get Jet and so and stuff like that.
Jet and Ebony, and also comic books as well.
Oh yeah, the comics with Jughead and Archie and all those guys there, and all those funny characters and stuff like that. Well, these were my favorite kind of a books though. They were easier to read for me, you know, because you see the picture, you're enjoying it, and you read the bubble. Oh, that's right. Mr. Will and Big FL and all that. So
comics are very important in our maturation, you know, like the Archie comics, the Marvel comics with Fantastic Four, Captain America, Spider-Man, Iron Man. You know?
Right. This of course, a lot of that used to be at home, you know. So I was reading of this there, but now as I was saying on the Black Power movement, I made kind of a conscious of it also, not only from my mom's side, because she was naturally a Black Power without the movement that started bubbling in Dominica, because the things that she used to talk to us about, of course, maybe having to do with she being born on the estate in Roseau, where people like Ballad came from, you know. And,
just so folks understand what Derick is talking about. Derick is talking about what Dr. Thompson Fontaine's book recently revealed, that on the Roseau estate, the estates in the east, you had a lot of Maroon uprising. The Maroon is the enslaved African who's fighting for freedom. And in Dominica, like Jamaica, was a big Maroon island. A lot of the enslaved Africans would go into the hills and fight against slavery. And so your mother came from an area of the country. So you may have Maroon blood, Derek. When I look at you,
oh, most
you may be
definitely.
descendant from a Maroon.
That's without a doubt. That's without a doubt. That's without a doubt. Seriously, that's without a doubt. And I mean, it's so much areas that we could go. It's like as if, well, as we go in there, the tentacles seems to be there spreading out. Yes, so now we'll stick a pin on that one and we'll get back to that. So now people like Natalie Charles, that was of course very, very close with Rosie, and that got deported around the same time with Rosie, and she was in Canada in a university. She had the group Harambe, you know, so all that brought the consciousness. Of course, Harambe was a group that we did performance poetry. We did dance and stuff like that. I was really, really young that time. I had to be maybe about like 6, 7 years old, and in that movement. But I used to be doing drums and percussions already for the group. Yeah.
And just so that the listening audience knows, Natalie Charles was a distinguished Dominican, or is a distinguished Dominican educator. She taught me at the grammar school, but she had studied in Canada during the 1960s and was involved in the Black Power movement in Canada with Rosie Douglas, who was a leading Black Power advocate in Canada in the 1960s and had a leading role in the 1969 Sir George William University uprising by West Indian students against racial prejudice. And then he was deported like Sister Nats or Natalie Charles.
Right. So it's when she got deported, she started off that whole movement, which we call Harambe, you know?
Yeah. And Harambe, I believe, is a Swahili for independence, you know.
It's togetherness.
Togetherness, okay.
Yes, togetherness. Harambe means togetherness. Yes, togetherness. So actually, I was getting a university tutorage, kind of a free at a very early age, you know. So a lot of people weren't privileged to that, but I was fortunate to be around that movement there because Nats was teaching us on that kind of a level, you know.
Yes.
And
so
Natalie Charles, she was a very close member to our family, you know. She was very, very close. She was like an everyday person, you know. And Masese was a mother, so if we call her Masese, you should know. And you know, Roseau actually had that kind of a community, kind of a family, kind of a feeling. Like everybody was kind of related. Roseau to me was like a village. It wasn't like a city. It was like a village, you know. Everybody knew everybody. I mean, the whole of River Street was like a family. Everybody knew everybody. You have to tell everybody good morning, and you have to tell Madis and Madat, and you could go by Madis or Madat. And if Madis or Madat see you on the road, they could, you know, reprimand you, you know, they could, you know, talk to you in that kind of a way. As they said in the old African proverb, you know, take a village to raise a child. It was in action then.
So you're saying that our community was much more compassionate, much more caring.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about in your time before you, let's say, became a teenager and got into music in the 1960s and 70s during the time of, I guess, Leblanc, who was the Labour Party leader and the premier at the time. What were the sort of social engagements and what were the sort of different celebrations that we had in Roseau? And tell us about the Windsor Park and the Botanic Gardens and Carnival and those things.
Oh, whoa, Carnival was, whoa, that was a real special time to me. I used to look towards for Carnival, you know, when I see Tuesday evening coming to a close, I'd be like, whoa, I have to wait till next week for another Carnival, you know. Carnival was a special one to me because my dad used to be the one, in them times they used to be building the stage, you know, in the Windsor Park. And he was the one really in charge of getting, that time he used to use the prisoners, you know, to help build, you know, so they were using their labor.
That's right. The prisoners would build the stage and the stands because not only was the stage being built, they would build extra stands because they were the main stands that were fixed.
Right.
There were 2 main stands that were fixed, but they would build extra stands made of wood to sort of enclose the area, and then you'd have the stage so that it would be able to accommodate the people who, because I think if you bought a ticket, you bought a ticket for the grounds where you stood, and then you bought the ticket, it was a little more expensive, so you can sit in the stands. Am I right?
Right. Well, you have the chair area where you would do chairs, then you'd have the stand, then you'd have the ground, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the chairs, if you sat on chairs, you bought the expensive tickets.
Yeah, the chairs.
If you sat on the stands, they were intermediate. And if you stood up, then it's the cheapest ticket.
Right. So that's what I really used to look forward to. I really enjoy that part. You may hear a little background noise out there, but no, that's okay. And of course, the botanical garden was another special one for me too, because my father also used to be doing things there. What we'd call it was National Day, we used to call it.
National Day, that's where they had, so they would have the parades of the schools.
And National Day, then it was always the 4th of November. So 4th of November, and November in itself is a very special time for me. It's my birth month, and so much activity is happening around that time, and we're talking about our cultural activities, around that time. So November, to me, is really a special month in so many different ways. And of course, we used to have what we call it now, we used to call it, we're going to watch drilling, man. We're watching them people drill.
Explain that to your audience. And so November 3rd is when Columbus supposedly came by the island in 1493. Right. So explain to those who are living today the importance of drilling and who are the people drilling and what effect it had on us.
Well, the drilling, actually what you're doing now, before you have that activity, that big activity in the afternoon where you're watching all the cultural groups who speaking about court, who doing the ballet, who doing the quadrille and stuff like that. Then you'd have on the 4th of November itself, you'd have maybe from somewhere about 7 o'clock in the morning, you'd have the different, what we call the armed forces. I don't know if armed forces is the correct way.
Well, that was the police, the cadets.
The police, the defense force, the firemen.
Defense force.
Of course,
firemen.
I remember your father there. I used to say, boy, look at your father, boy. Yes. And you're looking well serious there, chicken. Whoa, maybe I'd like to be that, but that looking like Babylon kind of a thing. Anyway. So you had the, and of course, the scouts and the cadets and the girl guides.
Yes. And the brownies.
The cubs, the brownies. And of course, the schools.
Even the nurses would drill.
Nurses would be there. Firemen, you just name it. Everybody would talk. Even you had the Seventh-day Adventists. They had a little group.
The Rangers.
They had the Methodists had their own too, and it was really spectacular.
Even our uncle, the Christian musical class, they had their own group drilling.
But that too. Anybody that had a group could find yourself there, and that used to be really a sight to see.
And you'd be drilling, you'd be marching.
Music lovers. You cannot forget them, the music lovers.
They provided the music.
Yes. Because after these guys finish playing the park and they're going wrong and thing there, we used to be behind that. Well, my mother didn't really enjoy me doing that, but I used to escape. And we running behind the band and we shaking, well, yeah, it's like carnival and the drums beating and donkey chat.
Stick in that, Derick. That is very important for people today to understand the impact of not just November 3rd. So remember, for at least 2 occasions prior to November 3rd, there would be something called rehearsal.
Oh, yes.
You go to the gardens to rehearse that on the day, you'll be perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
And as you said, once the parade was over and the band would march around town, crowds, not just children, grown people would follow the band,
But you have to follow the band. That is the time you get time to free up, jump up. And Dominican like to jump up. They like a party. So anytime, any occasion they get like that, you'll be behind the band.
Yes,
so
indeed.
That was one of the occasions that I really enjoy in Roseau. And of course, the merry-go-round. Now,
tell us about the merry-go-round there.
The merry-go-round, there was, I don't know who donated the land and the equipment that was in there. So
I can tell you, it most likely would have been El Rose and Company, because all that area was lime groves. Because even at grammar school when I was there was still some lime in the school grounds. The merry-go-round, this was all British equipment. Because I've actually done research, and I found some of the same equipment on British websites, like the horse. Remember the horse?
Right. Yes, we had the horse. We had the merry-go-round itself.
The swings.
From that, which was going wrong. They had the little chairs where you could sit in for the smaller kids. You had the bigger one, You had the slides and all that. But no, I don't know what was the whole story, but what I understood that land was donated for the Roseau children. But it seemed like after Miss Charles came into office, she gave the land, I heard, or I understand, so I stand to correction, that she gave the land to the CSA, which I find was totally wrong because Roseau haven't got enough playing space for the children.
Well, there's none, to be frank with you.
What's happening with it right now is really a shame. There is full of concrete, a lot of different buildings on there. And I mean, there's a preschool, which is okay. But no, they should find somewhere else to put that preschool. But no, the preschool was built after. But there's a social hall, I don't know, is to have conferences and all that. No, there's a little restaurant or eatery or what they may call it on the side. There's a laundry now inside there. There is a security company as well in there. And I really don't know what's happening. And Roseau kids have nowhere to recreate. We have nowhere to recreate. The children have nowhere to recreate. Children are passing there now haven't got a clue what they used to be like, how they used to be bubbling. You know, when children used to say they're going to the park just to go to the merry-go-round. You know, they're not going in the park, they're going in the merry-go-round and having all their fun. Or when you go and watch all that National Day parade or Independence or what they may call it right now, and how we used to know it before, Statehood Day, whatever name it is, call it before. You looking forward to go to the park because no, that is a little chance that we get now to go to the merry-go-round, as we used to call it. First to take a little swing and, you know, amuse ourselves, you know, to recreate, to meet our friends, eating our frozen joys, you know, our tablet, our coconut cheese, our tambourine balls, our jam, you know what I mean, there and we playing and stuff like that. But no, that's totally gone. So that's another story by itself.
Yeah, so we need to have a conference and we need to find a way to bring back playgrounds to Dominica because
Yeah,
in the
most
maturation of a
most
child,
definitely.
we need
Because
to have a playground.
the only playground that is around right now is the one next to the Pentecostal church. That's around the Goodwill School area going up towards the hospital. I don't know the name. I don't know if it's Goodwill Road. That's the name of that road there. Yeah. So the Pentecostal have a little area there, and they have a couple swings in there, you know. And it's a far, you know, it's much different, much inferior to the type of materials. I mean, materials of long ago and now is quite different.
I mean, the playground, the merry-go-round was made of solid British steel.
Solid metal, solid
metal.
Yeah, solid metal. So these were the times that I really look forward for. And Carnival in Roseau. Carnival was really special to me. Monday and Tuesday. The Monday, you have the parades, which was really spectacular. Then you had what you call Albert Peewee used to have his group. I can't remember what the name of the group, but there was Thunderbirds too. But the main rivals was Albert Peewee troop and the Thunderbirds, the Harlem.
And just so people at that time understand, Peewee was a premier popsicle and crimsicle and ice cream joint in Roseau. Am I correct?
Yeah. That's
Albert. You call him Albert Peewee. I can't remember his last name, but he worked at the shop.
Yeah, but well, actually, I think Gonzalez, which we call Peewee, was his either his cousin or his uncle or something like that.
Yeah. So the full name of Peewee's shop.
Yeah, his name was Albert Theodore, but he was the one running the shop.
Yeah. So it was Gonzalez Peltier. That was
Gonzalez Peltier. Yeah. Yes.
And
so
Albert worked for him.
Albert, worked with him because Albert was really the production guy. Albert really used to be running the place herself. I mean, people used to come in now and then, just maybe oversee what's happening, but Albert was the guy, you know, running.
Is Albert still with us? I don't
know. Albert left us maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I think he died in New York, I think.
May soul rest in peace. Those were the icons of our time. Tell us about cinema and what role that cinema played in your maturation.
Whoa, man, the Carib cinema for sure. Was a special one. And it goes with a couple names, like the Latans. where they'll be selling the peanuts and the lugas, and the luga is, as you know, is the
Peanut,
is a
they
little
call it
stick.
peanut brittle here.
With peanut what?
They call it peanut brittle.
Well, peanut brittle, yeah. But
That's when you
we
have,
know-
it's like a sugar cake, but with peanuts in it.
right,
know?
right. You have that.
And you
So
break
we call
that,
it-
you break that
we
off.
call that the luga. Different people use make it different ways. Of course, there were these people there with the fawin cocoa too. The fawin cocoa was the how you describe
Coconut,
it?
it's actually coconut, it's actually toasted,
with the sugar and the
Yes.
coconut flakes.
grated, toasted, flavored coconut.
Very good, very good. Gabriel.
And you have it in a little, they use like maybe a chronicle, a newspaper
yes, and
page,
wrap
you
that
know,
yeah,
and they
wrap
make
that.
a little cup, and then you,
Yeah, man. You make you get that for penny, man,
yes.
like, or penny hipney. Yeah.
So the penny in the United States, the penny is 1 cent.
1 cent, but
when we were growing up, a penny was 2 cents,
2 cents.
and
is a penny.
the halfpenny, which is half penny, was
1
1 cent.
is 1 cent. Yeah.
And it was copper, brown,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
copper, yeah.
Right. So that's what they used to the Creole people used to, and the Patois people used to say ogo kappa. So
Yes.
there's a big copper,
A big
and a tea
copper.
kappa, a small copper. You check. So now, yeah. So on the cinema business now, Carib was really.
You want to describe the different sections to the people of today who do not
Of
know?
course, yeah, there was Pete. That's for people like me. I guess a person like you would be going house.
No.
Okay, Gabo, you're trying to escape on us. You make sure they sell your house. Well, and you decide you're going to come in.
No, my friend, let me tell you something. Even if they gave us money to go to the house, you have to be smart. You take the money, go to pit, so you have a little extra to go buy period and get some ice cream, popsicle
Right.
afterwards.
Good.
Because if you go to the house, you blow all the money.
Yeah, that's it. Good. So now there was
Because so people could understand, pit was for what Derick is saying. Dominica is a class society, still is, but in those days very marked. So pit was for the working class, you know, for the working class, and it was the cheapest seat.
area.
It was on benches close to the screen. Behind that, on chairs, you had house. The chairs would fold back once you got up.
Right.
That was a little more expensive. That was more like for police officers, civil servants, you know, people with regular jobs and so. Above that, you had balcony. That was for the elite, you know.
Yes.
And you had
So
padded chairs and so on.
And pigsty would be there. Man like squat and throwing bubble gum in man afro.
You remember that? And then the ultimate was box. That was 2 little sections.
Oh, yes.
That was maybe for the governor or the bishop or something.
Right. Yeah. So that was it. But now I remember my first movie that I went to see, and my brother who took me to see that movie was Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley, Girls.
Yes.
And I remember that movie there, and that was in Carib Cinema. Arak wasn't built as yet.
No, Arak came in like maybe 60, 68, 69.
Somewhere around there, yes. I think I was still 69.
I was in mixed school. When Arak came.
No, still in mixed school, you know, when I think
We're still in mixed school.
So that would be somewhere early in the
69.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but no, they came in somewhere around that time.
Yes, but it still followed the same sort of principle. I don't know they had box, but I know they had pit, house, and balcony as well.
Yes.
They may not have had box. And,
No, they didn't have
on
box,
the sides
box.
were a lot of raffia mats that were made at the Tropicraft Industries.
Right, correct.
As almost
Correct.
maybe as sound buffers or
Yeah, it could be to dampen the sound, you know, so because you can't have the song hitting on the concrete, it will bounce back. Yeah, but the Carib was
tell citizens of today, young people of today, what rushing was at the cinema, rushing.
Oh well, we didn't get to man like Red Hole and Cassie Cut and those kind of fellas there rushing, you know, to go in pit, because pit was a little hole. I mean, about what? How wide would you say it was?
No more than 3 feet wide, if that much.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
don't think. And some people had to go side by side and to go in there. I think it was ridiculous making that kind of a thing there. But when they built Arawak, I was a little more happy because I could send a guy to rush for me, pay my like 5 cents or 10 cents extra for him to rush for me, and I could just walk in the door.
That's right.
In Carib Cinema, it was much different. You
had to rush to get into the door.
Ticket for you, and then rush to go inside.
because the 3 feet wide aperture I talked about was like a tunnel. The tunnel was maybe about 12 feet or maybe a little longer, well, no, maybe more like 12 yards or something. You had to walk, you had to rush a little distance.
You had to walk through there.
Yeah. And that was tough, you know, sometimes you close, you know.
It was fun, but it wasn't too much fun. You have fellas climbing up on your head, you know, or fellas waiting since what time? If they know they're going to start selling ticket by what time, fellas there from what time and stand up, you know.
So there,
this was the anniversary. Yes. Anniversary, where they bring back all the good movies they had for the entire year, and you'd get it at a cheaper rate. You know, the anniversary. You was going to say something.
No, so I'm coming to Bouyon now, because what I see here in your recitation at the time you grew up in Dominica, here you had a colony, but then we had our own local government. We had the pride of marching. We had the pride of our culture bubbling at the gardens during Statehood Day or Discovery Day. We had the pride of a merry-go-round where we would, you know, enjoy ourselves as kids, recreate. We had our local industry and the local eats that we made in Dominica. We had our own ice cream shop and popsicle shop. Albert, you know, Theodore working with Pee Wee and what have you. We had the cinemas where we had movies from around the world, primarily Hollywood movies, where we could go in on the weekend and enjoy ourselves. And that is like a collection. And then you had the rise of Black consciousness. You talk about Malcolm X and Che Guevara and Fidel Castro and Martin Luther King. And so you have a sort of coming together of a lot of different elements in way of culture, cinema, recreation. And what is that doing to your young mind that allowed for you to be part of WCK? What was that Bouyon doing to your mind? And I'll get to WCK in a moment.
Well, the thing is, from 2 years I was playing, you know. I think I was inspired, you know, by the Most High, because nobody taught me nothing about playing. I would listen to music, back in the day we used to listen to Weebs in Dominica. We used to listen to Radio Trinidad with Uncle Bob and Auntie K on a Sunday. Then you'd listen to that little program on, of course, Radio Antilles, where you'd listen to all the latest hits, you know.
Tell us some of the hits, some of the music artists you listen to.
Well, Motown song would be people like Dionne Warwick. You listen to Marvin Gaye. You listen to the Jackson 5s, maybe sometime the Osmonds. You listen to and as you know, Radio Antilles had the French, the English, and the Spanish, because after a time, now the French would come on, and when the French come on, things like Skasha, Tabo Combo, and Foy de Jean, and all those groups there. So that in itself had an effect on me. And of course, right in the yard where I live now, in because we had two sections in River Street. We had the lower River Street where we had the bakery, and we had the higher River Street by Miss Olive. Miss Olive was the one making tablet, coconut cheese, tambourine balls, and all that kind of stuff, you know, in the front of the yard. And she was kind of owning the houses in the yard. And we would we'd be digging all that, you know, listening to all that stuff there. There was a guy called Soleil. There was Soleil Adier, Pusu, and all that was in that yard there. So we're talking about great-grandmother, grandmother, mother, aunties, uncles. So that yard was like a bubbling area as well. And now Soleil, you know, would have his set, because he used to be, after a while, he was sailing on the Harrison line. And now he would be bringing all the latest records like Jimmy Cliff, the Sam Cooke, and you just name it. And of course, the music again, as we go even further, there was a guy named Albert. He was a tailor living a few feet away from us. If you would recall I call them now, the Vitals. The Vitals used to be staying around there, but now they were downstairs. Now he was renting the downstairs. He had a tailor shop there. And he now had a lot of records, and he was playing people like Drifters and all those days. So all that had, you know, I was bubbling in the music all the time in my head. So now the other thing I used to do was my mother had a set of chairs, maybe a set of maybe 4 or 5 chairs with a plywood bottom. She bought from Nasi. So now when I used to tap on it, I used to get a sound. So now nobody taught me that, but what I used to do, I used to set it up in an octave. Maybe I didn't have it, so I used to work with those that I had and put it in tone. Nobody showed me that until when I you know, with the advent of the drum machine, I realized I was doing something correct, that I was setting it up in an octave. And I would have been playing that, you know, because I couldn't afford a drum set. I was just a little kid, you know, 2 years old, thinking of doing things on my own, making my own percussions, and so making my own drums after a while by the riverside with, you know, like a lapoplastic, I used to call it, you know. So I given everything kind of a mix up, you know, in the growing up and everything. But
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. So you give us the foundation in the musical genres. You listen to the North American music, the African American,
right? Yeah. So that in itself,
Jimmy Cliff and so on.
That in itself helped, because I used to be going to Goodwill, you know, more or less for Christmas. My father would take me up to Goodwill to meet my grandmother. Of course, you would be familiar with my grandmother. We called her Granny. It was everybody Granny, and it was Granny. So it was everybody Granny. And we'd go to Goodwill, especially around the Christmas time. But my father was studying in Puerto Rico, and he had some Spanish music. I didn't understand what they were saying, but now I could understand the musical language, the notes played and the percussion and the arrangements. I could understand that. But there was my cousin named John I. They call him John I after a while, but they always call him John. And I couldn't play the big gram, you know. So I saw ask John.
When you say gram, you mean the record player?
The record player. We call it a gram.
The short form for gramophone.
Gramophone. Yeah, we call it the gram. And I tell John, you see that song that my father's played? Play it for me. I want to hear that song. He tell me, but you cannot understand my playing, but I say, I like to hear it. Play it for me. But you can't understand what I say. Play it for me. Then you play it. But now I didn't know I was listening to Tito Puente. I was listening to Tito Puente at that time. And I used to be hearing the original, and the percussion and the congas and the timbales and the bongos and the xylophone and the marimbas and kalimbas, and I hear the song that I find when I like the horn arrangement, you know, and the way the vocals going, you know, and stuff like that, the vocal arrangement, you know, so that had an effect on me. Of course, later on, my brother would come on with things like Iron Butterflies and Osibesa, Olatunji, Fela Ransom Kunti, and just to name a few, you know.
That's amazing, you know. You had an amazing immersion in different strands of the musical art form. Let me ask you, so because I know we've been at this for about an hour now, let's get to the formation of WCK. What led to the formation? Who were the early members of the band?
Well, the early members, when we started, Smokey, which is Irving Phillip, you know, because we had played in a couple of bands before, because WCK was my first band. I played in another band called Earth together with Dexter Valmore, Ashton Luge, Wackers, Spikey, Frankie Tong, you know, maybe we go to school together with Frankie Tong and Leroy Spikey.
Is that Frankie Tong, the pilot?
Yes, Frankie Tong, yes. Yeah.
What did Frankie play? I didn't know Frankie was in the band.
Frankie played keyboard. Frankie played keyboard in the group, yeah.
Amazing. Frankie and I in close contact because, you know, he's in aviation.
Oh, yeah. So Frankie played keyboard. And as you know, Frankie and myself was very close even before we came together in the band. Yes. So we had that group, you know, and we recorded in Guadeloupe in 1979. We had a record in 1979, but after 1979, everybody.
What was the name of that band?
The name of the band was Earth.
Earth.
Yeah, but now we recorded under the name Liquidized Earth because now Ting got the contract for us. That is Dexter brother. That is
Tony Vamo.
He got it. Tony got the contract for us because Liquidized was already fading out, and he got the opportunity. So he said, you know, that little band there, you know, it had potential. So we could record it by Debs. you know. So then I sang a couple songs and stuff like
When
that.
you say Spiky, who are you talking
Spiky
about?
Leroy Gis.
Leroy
Spiky.
Gis, yes.
Yeah. You know, Spiky is a bad musician. Play
Yeah.
guitar, he play everything. Keyboards, he play everything.
Yes,
Horns,
yes.
everything. Spiky play everything. Yeah.
Where's
He's in
Spiky
Miami.
now?
He's in Miami.
Okay, good.
He's in Miami
Leroy
right now.
Gis, Spiky.
Right.
So
So
what was your first band and what was your second band?
the second band, we had a band called Rooftop Connection. It wasn't I became a member of it after, but that band was started by Dave Phillip. Of course, you know Dave because he came from around your area there.
Well, not just Dave. I mean, Dexter Valmore, Tony Valmore,
Yeah,
Wackers. Those guys were
yeah,
DJ
around.
in the areas.
Yeah, in and around. Yeah, so Dave had the group, and so the of course you maybe know the William brothers, those four Paris William. That was Daryl and Roger, right?
Yeah, what did Darren and Roger play?
Roger played guitar and Daryl played the bass. Now my partner Peter, we were very, very close. We still close. Peter Fingal was doing the drums and I did percussions, you know, for that group. But we were doing pure reggae. So we were doing things like Steel Paws, Aswad, Third World, those type pure reggae we used to do. As a
What was
matter
that
of fact,
band called?
it was called Rooftop Connection.
Okay.
Rooftop Connection. But this Dave is the one that really started the band. You know, but after a while, man like Teely and those kind of guys, Stinky, you know, like Skilvian.
Did Stinky play an instrument?
Yes, Stinky was doing percussions, you know, but when I come, you know, after all, you know the vibe. When I step in there.
And Stinky is Kirvin Linton.
Yeah, Kevin,
And Tilly is Hillary Thomas.
Hillary Thomas.
What did Tilly play?
Tilly was singing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would have been in the 80s then.
Yeah, that was early 80s. That was early 80s. So that's about 80, 81 around that. As a matter of fact, we were the group that opened for Taboo Combo the first time they ever came to Dominica.
Yes.
We played for them. I mean, we didn't used to practice on instruments. We used to practice on little teens and box guitars, and of course, Smokey was playing in there too. Smokey Irvin, he played in there. So now Irvin, now after we played a couple of groups after that, I had a group called Unity and all that. He met me a time and he told me, boss, you know, we want to form a group, and we don't want to do like how we used to do before and play on box guitars and you know, the other thing we used to blow in, you know, like melodica, we used to blow in to get the keyboard kind of a thing, you know, because we didn't have the instruments. That's what we used to practice on, box guitars and stuff. And he told me we want to get some real instruments. So I said, well, fine, you know. So he told me, well, you know, Wackers, my little brother Cornell, and another partner called Keith, you know, they're doing something still. So now we'll make the group.
When you say Keith, are you talking about Keith Goddard?
Yeah, Keith, yes, Keith Goddard. But I didn't know Keith that time, so that's why he described me like that. I didn't know Keith that time, you know. So he told me, well, yeah, so we'll get the band together and stuff like that. So he was keeping in contact with me until when we decided, it was the summer of 1987 that we had the first meeting. We had the meeting by my home in Kings Lane, 21 Kings Lane, just opposite Pee Wee Popsicle, exactly opposite Pee Wee Popsicle. And we had the first meeting now. So when he came.
Who were the people at that meeting? Who were the people at that meeting?
The people at that meeting was Smokey, that's Irvin Phillip, his brother Cornell Phillip, Wackers, Ashton Luge, Keith Goddard, and thing was there also Tony Detouche. Yes, Detouche or Latouche. I always get in them mixed up. Yeah.
And was there a brother from Portsmouth?
The Latouche is the other set. Yeah.
Was there a brother from Portsmouth?
In mixed school and taught in Woodwork school too, Latouche. Yeah. So
was there a brother from Portsmouth there as well?
No. Wayne came in after, so now we'll get to that part. And myself, that is when we had the first meeting. And that is where I get to know Keith. So I asked, who was Mr.? Meaning Keith. So Smokey tell me, but you don't know Floriska? Of course, we would have went to school together, Floriska too, in the same class.
Yes, the Josephs.
Yeah, Floriska. Floriska is his auntie. Mima is his mother. I say Mima. Floriska's sister, Annie and them. I say like, oh yeah. I don't really know Mr. First time I see Mr., but now I get to know Sherwin was his father. And Sherwin was one that was always coming to our house in 21 Kingsville as well. You know, he used to come to a guy called Matt, you know, Matt, can't remember his second name right now.
So tell me the WCK, how did the three letters come together? Who did it represent, the three letters?
Well, the WCK came about while three others guys, they were doing something. And I think it was Franklin Moses or Tim Dura. They were doing a courtesy contest, whatever it was, which I think Freddie's son won, Freddie Nicholas, the bassist, Callas guy and all that. I think he and his son won that time. But no, they didn't have a name, as they say, the story goes. So they say the three of them, they come with us, they say, oh, W for Workers, C for Cornell, and K for Keith. So when they came now, when we was making a group and we having a first meeting, they say, but we have that name WCK. So I say, no, but if we form in a group, I mean, I played in how many other groups before? There was the group I, which I didn't make mention about. We will be in drums and percussions and stuff like that. There's the group I played in. There was Unity. There was Rooftop Connection. There was how many other groups? Why we have to use a name that you all were using? We're making a fresh group. Why is the sense of using that name? I say, as a matter of fact, when somebody asked me in an interview, what's the name of the group? WCK. What WCK means? I'm going to say Wackers, Cornell, and Keith. That wasn't making any sense to me. So I was looking beyond. I said that wasn't making any sense. But by the time we recorded the first album, Wackers was out of the group and Wayne was there. So I said, what are we going to call the group? Wayne, Cornell, and Keith, WCK? I said, that don't make no sense. You check? So now when we recorded the first album, they want to put WCK. I said, whoa, so that is a name that's going to stick. So I said, I'm going to put some extra meaning to that. So I call it Windward Caribbean Culture. So instead of Waters, Cornell, and Keith, or Win, Cornell, and Keith, I say W, Windward, C, Caribbean, K, Culture with a K, which I see very popular in them time. People use culture with a K.
Windward meaning because Dominican is a Windward Island.
Windward Caribbean Islands. Of course, we were part of the Leeward Islands before. And
yes, of course.
The Windwards. Okay, so Windward.
We became a Windward Island in 1940.
Windward Caribbean because we're in the Caribbean, and culture. You know.
Okay.
So this where I came up with the name. But at that time, I think we had started working on the second album, which was the Culture Shock. This is when I started writing. I didn't write so much on the first album because the writers on the first album were people like Arnold Tuller had done some writing. I did a bit of writing, but I won't boast to that. Smokey did some writing on that. And that was it basically. I think there's over the writers on there. And
did you all make a decision, Derick, at the outset as to what you would play, or you were just basically driven by what was the prevailing sort of musical standard of the time, which would have been a lot of what you call calypso, which was Gordon Henderson.
More or less, it wasn't so much calypso in them time when the band started. It was more or less things were dominating the airwaves. You had bands like especially Burning Flames, and there was jam band. Wasn't jam band that time? It was Eddie and the Movements. It was called. And the
Burning Flames is an Antiguan band.
No, with Flames is Antiguan.
Burning Jam. What about the jam band? Where is it from?
Jam band is more or less from St. Thomas. Eddie and the Movements was more from St. Thomas. And there was 17 also. You know, so the music was kind of
where was 17 from?
That. We were doing all the popular styles.
Where was 17 from?
What's that?
Where was 17 from?
17 was a mixture of guys from St. Martin, St. Thomas, St. Croix. It was a mixture of guys. I still really think they were from St. Thomas, but after when I check it out, you know, they were a mixture of guys. Because Funk, the keyboardist, is from St. Martin. It's from Gums, you know, and the Gums, the Richardsons and all that, they are more or less from around that region. So Funk, was the keyboardist that time. And they had, of course, these are the ones that I really know close is Funk and Fredo. Fredo was the drummer.
And what is your first big hit?
Our first big hit was I would think it's Culture Shock. I think that's when the people start to take into us. As a matter of fact, when we started in WCK, the radio personalities, which was very popular, was DBS. They wasn't really pushing WCK as such. But guess what? There was a radio station called RCI of St. Lucia that had a transmitter in Dominica. And they were playing more WCK than local DBS and so. So DBS had some catching on to do, because now people were more or less starting to listen to RCI, because RCI was sounding clean, you know, and sounding good on FM, you know, sounding neat and stuff like that. So a lot of people were listening to RCI. So basically,
what I want to do, I want to see if I can play a little riff of your first big hit of 1990. That was Culture Shock. Just listen.
Yeah. It's not coming through though. It's a little low. So maybe you have to bring it maybe closer to your mic or whatever. Right.
This powerful song. I mean, you start there talking about you know, Cot and Bele and Sisi Cotterer, who was a cultural icon.
Yeah.
You know, someone who believed in our traditional cultural forms of the Creole music and the dress. That was powerful.
Yeah.
Was that you singing? Was that you doing the vocals?
Yeah, I wrote the song, I composed the song, and I sang the song. Yeah. Actually, orchestrated it too.
So that was the beginning of Bouyon, because really in the beginning, you talk about all those different strands that came together to weave that fabric of
Exactly.
musical form.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Because now, in them times, you know, a lot of people within the ranks and file saying, oh, it's me, it's this, it's that, it's that. But now, if you listen to the song and you understand and you're a conscious person, you would see exactly, you know, where it's coming from. You could see the nucleus, you could see the source. You check where it run into the stream and where it creating the river, you know?
Now, there was another song, and I'm going to play because that song really spoke to, I think, the bouillon, which is a meal. You know, it's a mixed up meal that we have in Dominica, and I'm going to play that. And I think that one is conch shell. The conch shell, of course, is what the fishermen use to call out for the sailing of fish.
Right.
straight out to the sea. Looking to hold some fish just to keep up movie. I like the fish well boiled, can I stand it in too much oil? So I get up my seasoning to do some creole cooking. All kind of fish is ready. Oh, when I'm ballad with it. Oh, la TV. Bouillon is up here. How is fish? Johnny and Errol like fishing down by the bay. Down by the harbor like get them easy as soon as 2020 vision, see them coming in from afar. Beyond the prison, you shout out James Lee Rasta. All kind of fishing day. Oh, when I'm ballad with it. Oh, la TV. Bouillon is up here. Fish time.
That was powerful. I mean, that song, when we got it up here in the States, I mean, that was, it really brought back our childhood and images of Dominica. Powerful.
Well, this one there, when you listen to the song, talks about the fish. When you go deeper now, you realize now it's just modern fish. It's modern fish, you know.
Yes.
They talk about people's behavior. They talk about a lot of, you know, like the fish represent people in different characters, you know. You have the shark, you have the electric eel, you know. You have the fishmongers, you know. You know, they want to give it all up for free, you know.
Yeah.
You have to keep up your guard and the security, you know. Someone to sell the fish, but you do it too expensive.
Yes.
Like they want the poor to die and all the rich man to live.
That's
so all
right,
kind of
that's
machine there.
Yeah.
So
it's not just simply reflecting the society, it's also giving critical commentary on the society.
yes,
You
at
know?
the same time. And it's still talking about the different type of fish and the names that we call them, you know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it wraps up a lot of things
Yes.
in a short space of time. That's what a song's supposed to do, you know.
And of course with a powerful beat and the conch shell
Oh yeah,
behind.
the beat of it, yeah, because we had the elements like the conch shell, which we said we wanted to really utilize. So we sample the conch shell and put it in there, and of course you could hear the lapocab beat, which we use for the carnival, you know.
And the lapocab beat, I think, to me, is the most profound element in the way the lapocab, for those who do not know, that's a goat skin drum.
Yeah,
which goes back to the days of the slave period when the enslaved Africans would use the drum to set their souls free.
Right. Yes, the emancipation.
And of course, the Kalinago warriors and that fusion of African and Kalinago and that spirit of freedom. And that's what I feel in the song. I feel a spirit of liberation. You know, it's not just a song, you know, but when you listen to it, it lifts you, you know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what the drums. That's why I love drums. You know, that's what drums does to you. It gives you inspiration. For instance, you know how I know it there is they say the voice is the first instrument. The second instrument is a drum, the beat, because you can knock on almost anything, and you'll get on anything that you knock, you'll get a song.
In that song and the one before, what were the instruments that were in play? So you just call them out.
Well, in the first one, the culture shock one, we use more or less the Jinping kind of elements. The Jinping would be more or less what we use in the quadrille. The quadrille would be the kind of almost like a square dance, almost.
So what are the instruments? You have the accordion.
With the accordion. Of course, we use the drums, we use the guitars, but really and truly then you have things like the elements in the Jinping would be the tambal, which would be like a big tambourine, you know, and they have a special way of playing it over your knee like. There's the gouage. Some people call it a siat, but no, growing up I know it as a gouage.
That's a greater.
The greater kind of a song, the Spanish, and then use it to that kind of a rhythm. There's the boom boom, which will give you the bass, which is a hollow piece of bamboo. You know, some people use the substitute now, but it used to be a hollow piece of bamboo to get the kind of a bass song. And yeah, that's it, you know. That would be the instruments, but more or less we experimented at that time on the culture shock with the accordion.
Indeed, indeed.
Right, and the other one now, the other one, which is the conch shell song, we more or less use the lapo cabuet. Of course, we have to use the drums that we have available right now, not exactly the lapo cabuet.
Are those electronic drum machines?
No, well, we use part of electronic machines, and so we use part of the electronic, the rhythm box, we call it there, the drum machine. And of course, we sample the conch shell.
Is that a real conch shell?
A real conch shell. We sample it, get the sample. We get the sample, so we play it on the keyboard and place it in the places, put it in the areas that you needed the thing, and you know, give it the rhythm.
Who was the main arranger for folk songs? Arranging music.
The arrangements were done by the band, but the composing was myself, of course, with the other guys. But no, the transferring or the translating of the analog to electronic or digital was done by Cornell. He was the one there doing that part. So Cornell.
Is Cornell the same as Fingers?
Yes, yes, he's the one that really did that. So there's where his strength is. Because his people and them were deep into the computers, and so long before a lot of people, he had access to getting to understand the works of the computer and stuff like that, and to transfer.
And Cornell Phillip is the son of Campbell Phillip, the famous Dominican store owner.
Yes. He's
his older brother was Carol Phillip.
Yes. And of course, Carol was the one they working by Kiban Wallace, of course, and he had a lot of access. So he was the one that started the electronic store. Yeah, I mean, they had all the stuff, but no, he was the one that brought the family business into that, but he's now deceased, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, Ashton as well, because Ashton was one that was into the music. He was into the song system together with the scientific rules, the Rule Brothers, but no, he broke off, and you know, he was the one into the song, you know? Yeah.
Ashton, I think, has left us, hasn't he?
Yeah, Ashton is deceased now. Yeah.
Ashton went to sixth form with me. He went to SMA, but I met him at sixth form. Very quiet guy. And what role did Waddix play in that period?
Oh, Waddix ended up being part of the movement after Ashton, you know, invited him in. Because actually, where Waddix came in, you know, it was Ashton and myself was supposed to be dealing with that. As a matter of fact, we had started it. It was supposed to be Ra and Ashton. But now, you know, through a little friction with Ashton and his brothers, and certain things were going on, he thought I was taking sides, you know, with his brothers, you know, working with him. So he went with Waddix. So that's why Waddix came into the picture. So they
Waddix is Leroy Charles.
What's that? Huh?
Waddix is Leroy Charles.
Leroy Waddix Charles. Yeah.
And he's a big promoter of Dominican musical forms like
yes,
music,
he's a promoter. He heavily now into the Caras business and stuff like that. Yes, but I could tell you, he made a lot of money and a lot of business with the WCK distribution and stuff there. He did quite a bit on there.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I just want to say that you know, it is exciting for us to have had this conversation. It's informative. And, you know, I know a lot of different elements went into this, a lot of different personalities. I mean, you've mentioned Cornell and Irving and you know, you talk about Wade. Give us Wade's full name.
Wade McLawrence.
Yes, Wade McLawrence.
He was guitarist. He played about 4 albums with us.
Yes.
Of course, Wackers.
Where is he now?
Never played on a single album. He never played on an album, Wackers. Yeah.
Okay.
He started with the group, but no, he never ended up playing on no album. The first album was played by Wayne, and Wayne played about 4 albums. Then we had a guitarist from Wesley, Toussaint. What's his name? I can't remember his first name, but
it happens.
Yes,
that's why we have to record these things, because our memories become elusive, you know.
Yes.
Our memories sometimes fail. Let me
Yes.
ask you on the first trip, so the Dominican Association of Washington, D.C. invited WCK, I think, on their first trip to the United States in 1990, June thereabouts, July thereabouts. Were you on that tour
Oh, yes.
at the Ibex nightclub?
Right. And we went to the Wild Year also. We didn't play there, but we went to the Wild Year, and he showed me, well, Rough Kids and those guys was playing there. I remember that year.
I took you around the night. I took you around the night, I think.
Yeah. So we moved around, and to me, I was more excited meeting you in such a long time. To me, I was more excited about that. I was excited about being there, but the main idea of meeting you there, and we talking about old times and that kind of a thing was really
that was
exciting.
your first time in Washington, huh?
That was our first time in Washington. Yes, that was our very first time in Washington, and it's good that you remember the year.
Yes.
Yeah. Good that you
Well,
remember.
what happened was our brother just died, Dr. Christian the vet. He just passed away that month.
Right. Yes.
June, yeah. He just passed away.
Right.
And that was a very good event. I think I saw a few pictures. And then you came back, I think it is twice.
Yeah, I think we came back a couple of times. Yeah, we came back a couple of times. Yeah, we came back. Yeah, it was really, really good. Really good. And I get the opportunity to see Esther. I didn't see Esther in how many years? Yes, Esther. Yes.
Esther.
Yes. So that was really nice seeing, I remember to me the last time I saw her was like in middle school, up close and personal like that. All the time.
That's right.
And all that,
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
so-
I just want to say we are very proud of WCK. We're very proud of the Bouyon music. And what do you see for future Dominican cultural industry where we can have movies and, the musical videos and the creative arts take up more of a prominent place in generating wealth for people?
But the first thing I would like us as a Dominican people to work a little more closer in harmony, respect, empathy, and all the elements that would make us a better people. The syndrome of crabs in a barrel, we pulling on one another, we won't get anywhere. We'll just see, like I saw illustration with, three dogs, while two of them were fighting, the other one just came and be eating all the food, So now we have to understand how these things work. And for us to, be a little mindful and understand, that we have a treasure. We have a gold mine. If we don't mind our business, somebody else will come and mine it for us. So, just like what they do in Africa, that's like what's happening. It's happening here too, in a certain sense,
Yes.
And we need to be conscious of that and to assist one another. People with the means and the know-how, train people, to the best of your ability, encourage, support, and build. That's what we're supposed to do. Because if I was to move in a selfish way, there's a lot of people that I brought into the business on my own personal funds to make sure that the business rises. If I was in a selfish mode, then the music wouldn't be as big as it is right now. And I'm talking about me personally. I know other guys did what they did, but I could talk about me because, the amount of bands and individuals that I built, and we haven't even touched on that area, and it's really vast. I made about, like, apart from WCK, I did about 2 different groups, maybe 3. There's my son right now. He's done a first group. Now he's doing a second group. He's a producer. His name is Ajmal Skyo Beats. So he produced.
I'm so sorry, I just forgot. I'm so caught up in our youth and all you've done. I got to ask you about your own family and how many children you have.
That's okay. When we move. We move. When we see.
Tell me how many kids you have.
Well, I don't have kids or children, but it's all right.
I'm sorry. Somebody once said that to me. Somebody said that's for goats,
Yeah.
Children, how many children do you have?
That's all right. You know what? We just make fun out of it. We cool like that. We cool like that. So I have 4. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. My first son is in New York. I think you also met him because I think I brought him to Washington that first time. I thought so. I think so. Yes, he came to Washington. Yes, because we took a couple of pictures together with well, my first son is with Sabrina. With someone used to be some relation to you.
Yes, yes.
Christian, yeah. And
Yes, yes.
he came up there because we took a couple of pictures together with Sammy, and we were by he was in Washington for some time. Boy, what's his name now?
Ciso?
Played guitar. He played guitar up there. He was there for a while, but he left. He's a teacher down there now, right now. Seki.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Seki, right? Yeah. So he came to there. So that's my first son.
What's it? So that first son's name is what?
Huh?
Your first son's name?
My first son name is Adil.
How you spell that?
Adil.
Adil Peters.
It's an Arabic name though.
Okay. What does it mean?
It means just.
Okay, good. And
Yes.
what's the second son's name?
The second one name is Ajmal.
How you spell that?
Ajmal. Ajmal.
AGMAL. What does that mean? What is it, Arabic also?
That means he's just good looking.
Is that Arabic or Swahili?
Yes, it's Arabic.
Yes.
Arabic. Yeah.
And what about the third one?
Rahim. Nadim. You know?
Nadim or Nadeem?
Yeah. Deem. But it doesn't matter, you know, it's the same pronunciation. Some people write
Nadim. Yeah. And that, what does that one mean?
Yeah. It means just as well. Rohim means servant of the Most High. Merciful.
So you have Adil,
yeah.
Ajmal,
Yeah.
Nadim, and
No,
Rahim.
No, he has all that name. The second one have all that name. Adil have his all his name. Adil is Farid Nadim.
Okay.
Yeah. Isa. Right. No, my third one is a girl. Her name is Raina. Well, her aunt dreamt of the name. It's not after me. The aunt dreamt of the name, and she just decided her name is Raina.
And what does that mean?
Raina means beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
And the last one.
Sonaj. Sonaj,
Yes.
no, I have nothing to do with that. The mother give her that name. That's my last. So 2 boys, 2 girls. The 2 boys came first. First the boys, second the girls. Sunday.
Congratulations. And I know at a certain time, I think at a certain time you were close to we used to call him, of course, Roger Atterley, but it's Shabazz.
Shabazz. Oh yes. Oh.
When I left Dominica, Shabazz had a tray by Sherry Lodge, and I bought one of the Vietnam era US Army jackets you're selling.
Right.
And I came up to the States for that. So but what was the relationship between you and Shabazz in those days?
Yeah, me and Shabazz is still cool because I'm Muslim too, I'm Muslim too, I share the faith and I still believe in the faith and stuff like that,
Of
it's just that I
course.
don't hang out with those guys like that. But well, you know Suleiman. Suleiman was the one that really
Of course. Suleiman taught with. How is he? Because is he with us?
Suleiman, I think is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Suleiman. I mean, I've been to Saudi. I would have liked to reach him because I did some work for the royal family, and I went to Saudi to meet with them.
He's up there. He's in Saudi. I think one of.
And Suleiman is Abdul Suleiman used to be, of course, a Shillingford.
Yes.
And Roger Abdulli and so on.
Newton Shillingford.
Yes. We taught at grammar school together.
That's Dickie Uncle. Remember Dickie? All of us go to school together, right?
Of course. Right. He was a very good athlete.
Yeah, man. So that's why it is there. So that's the children right there. So now Ajman now. He's the one.
How many? Let me ask you a question. What's the percentage or how many Muslims do you think we have in Dominica now? Because you and Suleiman and Shabazz, that was the first really Dominican Muslim movement.
We've right now we have quite a few Muslims, right now. There's quite a few.
And the mosque. Where's the mosque?
The mosque is where you remember the old thing used to be how you call it now? a Freemason mosque there. It used, not a mosque. It used to be a Freemason building there where Pee-wee, them fellas used to be there.
Okay, so there are two. There's Odd Fellows was by the gardens, Botanic Gardens, Odd
Right.
Fellows, and then the Masons will come in down Federation Drive on the right.
And bottom of Federation Drive. So I think they bought over that building.
Yes.
They bought
'Cause
over
I
that
remember
building
Lavity and
renovated
this guy would go there.
Yes, yes. So renovated the building and stuff like that. So there's where the mosque is right now. I mean, there was
Okay.
other options and so, but I don't know, for some reason they bought that property.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So
Let me
there's
ask you,
where-
what about your wife? You have a wife.
Say it again?
You have a wife?
Do
You have a wife?
if I have a wife?
Yes.
Yeah, I was married with Sabrina at a Muslim Islamic marriage, but no, she went to the States and we kind of separated. So that's kind of out of the woods right now. But
Yes.
right now I'm not married right now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But what would you like, in closing comments, Derek, what would you like? Well, let me ask you, I didn't ask you that. I mean, so your brother Leslie gave you the name Ra, but when I think of Ra, I think of the sun god,
That's right. That's
Amen Ra.
the deeper part of it. Because I was gonna give you the story about that part. Where we used to go and watch a lot of movies, the cowboy movies. So there was Fernando Sancho, there was Gilema Glamour, there was Haratara, and all those kind of guys there. So I decide, well, I have my catapult, my slingshot. So I write on my catapult, Haratara. The man come and the man say, oh, your name is not Haratara, your name is Ra. I check him out. Why the man want to give me that name, Ra? So no, the man go all about, by that time I about 7 years old, 6 to 7 years old. The man go all about telling people, you see Mr. name is Ra. You see me, everybody there, so people like Andy Carter, Alanji, yeah. And all them guys, some of them they wash be all them gang up there, Stalin, which we call Bagawire.
Yeah, Stalin went to go to school first,
was around that area there. So all them man just know me as Ra. So when I do my research, I realize now Ra is the sun god. But now when you are spelling it, you're spelling it R-A. But I find R-A doesn't sound like Ra to me. So I put the H. So I wasn't want to add the H. But actually when he wrote it as R-A, Ra. So when I do my research, I realize, but whoa, that's a powerful name, man. At 7 years, I get that name, Ra. And I get to know, well, it's Egyptian sun god and the connection and all of that. So now everything just work out itself.
I think it always a part of our striving and to connect to our source of Africa or African roots, and we are blended people, but our roots are strongly African, and we're proud of that. And if I were to ask you in conclusion, Derick Peters, a musical icon on Dominica, someone who is the Bouyon king, or someone who was instrumental in the foundations of Bouyon. If I were to ask you, how would you describe Bouyon? B-O-U-Y-O-N. How would you describe it to someone who doesn't know anything about Dominica?
Bouyon, the word Bouyon came about by, I was kind of feeling I had it enough playing, wanted to, and the guys, and then when we did the first album, we were sounding so much like Flames or sounding like Jam Band and the rest of the group. I see, well, we have so many beats in Dominica. Why don't we fuse those rhythms together and come up with a formula? Because we kind of have that same kind of a calypso, shango kind of a beat anyway, which is African anyway. So there is where I came up with working with the formula. And the question was asked to me by my daughter's mother, which is in Guadeloupe. Her sister, so my daughter's aunt, she asked me, but Derick, what is the type of music that you're playing? Because it's something different and so on, what I say, whoa, I got to go in and create a name. So I came up with a different few names, and Bouyon was one that came up, and Bouyon, as you know, is a mixture of foods, a sauce, with whatever you want to put it in. But the most important part of it is the gravy, is the sauce, right? So I think of fusion. I see, well, fusion is an overused word. There are fusion this, fusion jazz, fusion that. I say, no, fusion sound like confusion to me. So I decided, no, let's come with a word that kind of a Dominicanized, that kind of a creolized, that kind of a patois, you know. And I came up with bouillon. That's why I come with the other word bouillon rice. You check. So now we blend it in there and we say, well, okay, the foundation of that is our local, our rhythms, right? Which is the ballad. For people who don't know, the ballad is like with the drums and the vocalists, the lead vocalists and the backup vocalists and so on, the dancers. We have the ballad, we have the jingping, which we described already, and we have the lapokab with beat. And of course, we have kadas there. So now we fuse all that with kadas, with reggae, with dancehall, with R&B, with hip hop, anything that could fit within the formula. That's what we came by with it. That was the whole vibe of Bouyon. And the name, as we say, you know, that we described the name already. So that was the whole thing that encompass the whole strategy and the whole image of Bouyon. That's the whole feel about it. And of course, the language, the Creole and the Africans and all the different colloquial sayings that would have and the different phrases, you know, all that, you know, made part of the whole thing. The tim-tim, the l'histoire, the tija epifoy, the copelapier, the copetig, the all that, you know, because as you know, souffle moutain, all that was part of the whole thing, the Sissi Cordera kind of a vibe, where she used to be singing all those Creole songs even before Souffle Moutain and La Jeune Étoile, you know, and so all that just came and encompassed, you know, so that's why I came up with the first song now, Culture Shock.
Culture shock. That's outstanding. And how would you say that the young people of Dominica today embrace? How would you say they embrace? Or do they embrace Bouyon at all?
Whoa, I mean, right now, Bouyon is like the sky's the limit. We just need some structure and we need some people know, learned minds to those are good in like management, those are good in documenting, those are good in the technical fields like better engineering, you know, better structuring, lyric writing. You know, those who could help, but you could see Bouyon music. Bouyon music is on a total different level from anything else that came from Dominica. You know, I mean, everything else making itself within, you know, but no, Bouyon has really taken, I mean, the average youth in Dominica is Bouyon. Everybody, to me, the Bouyon is not only just a music, it's a way of life. It's in your religion, it's in your cooking, it's in your dressing, it's in your speaking, it's in your dancing, it's in your whole cultural vibe, it's in your way of living, you know. So Bouyon is not only limited to the music Bouyon, it's just a total way of life. And that's me. I not really basing my spiritual belief in just one thing. I spiritual, but no, it have a piece of Islam, it have a piece of maybe the Catholics, some Christianity, whatever it is, but anything that have a positive element that will empower, you know, me, my family, my friends, my community, the island, the nation, the world, the Caribbean, the universe, to me is positive, you know. So that's what Bouyon music is to me. That's my whole concept of Bouyon.
And do you believe then we should maybe see more music education in our schools from elementary school level all the way up to college, and so we can
definitely, because if I had that understanding when I was growing up, then maybe I would have given my academics a more serious approach. I give it a little kind of a knock down because I figure I didn't want to give like my brother have glasses like what I have now, studying a set of books and be reading and thinking, because no, he was the one into that. He's the expert in poetry as well. He's the one, he's a writer. Yes, he's a writer.
Is he a civil, was he a teacher as well?
Yeah, he's a writer. Whoa, my battery seems to be giving me a little problem. That's to show you how good the program is going there. Yeah.
Well, I think let's wrap up in the next few minutes because I don't want to lose anything.
Yeah,
Um,
most definitely. Well, I have a backup there, so I just put it on.
okay. But your brother Leslie, was he a teacher or he worked in the civil service?
He worked with the water company, and of course he is a writer as well. He was one that we studied the group I together. So people like Roseau, the Tula brothers, and all, and Paul, they were in the group as well. People like Charles Pierre, Rosman, Lander, Algan, and Adams, which is Algie. He passed Greg's, quite a few of them, Albert, Albert, he's up in England.
Well, I mean, it's funny, because a lot of the names you've mentioned were also on the front line, because as the first president of front line,
of course.
with Isaiah,
Of course, we didn't talk about Isa because Isa was part of the movement. So now I think we have to write a book now.
So well, when we talk about Isa, let the record reflect. We're talking about Brother Tulo,
Yes.
Brother Tulo.
So we talk about the Tula brothers, and we talk about Isa, which is his first name again, boy.
But you do me,
Isa.
Eddie, man. Eddie.
Isa.
Eddie.
Isa.
Eddie Tulo. Eddie. Eddie Isa Tulo. It's funny,
man.
it's funny just for the moment because he's in one of the books that I have here because we started Frontline in '81 and I was president of Frontline and then I left the next year. But he continued the movements and that I actually found, just so you know, it's on YouTube. During COVID, I found the tape that I had made at the funeral, tribute to Isa. So it's on YouTube. So you can go and look at it with Isa Tulo, you can find it,
Oh yeah, but cool. Yeah.
That was because Isaac called me the day that Rosie died and said, boy, you make those people kill comrade, and we helped organize Rosie's funeral. And then the next year, almost to a year, he died.
It was sad.
I think Rosie died on the first,
Yeah.
and he died on the second.
Yeah, I tell you, almost the same time, a year apart. That was very hurtful because now, Eddie and myself, we were close, but we were getting much, much closer that time when he died. Because he realized, because at that time I had the first wrangle tangle with WCK, with that thing they wanted to get me out of the group and all that kind of stuff. And Eddie see exactly what I was doing, and Eddie was about to already push the group that I had called Raw Rhythm at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's deep. It's like it's a lot. And I mean, we talk, but there's so much to the story, And,
well, we have to continue because the brother Reed, told me about the radio program that
definitely
that you have. I'll be happy to come on. I'd be happy to come on anytime and to help with that.
Oh yes. So definitely we'll have you on one of the programs and stuff like that. Like because normally I do it on a Tuesday from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So it would be just fitting for us to do that, especially a person of your level and the amount of information that you have that you could share, and of course being able to ask the right questions, at the right time, to really pick the mind and to really get it going. Because some days you realize now I have to be scrambling now.
Yes, well, I mean that is why it's so important for us to record. When we can record, because as time moves on, we begin to lose those memory cells. A lot of things that could be captured, lost. And so I'm a big believer in making the record. Of course, in the written form as well as audiovisual, as we're doing today. During COVID, we actually, my daughter, Samora Dominique, Christian, she said, Daddy, I want these old VHS tapes, and they're cluttering the place. Do something. I went to. So my daughter's name is Samora. I named her after Samora Machel of Frelimo, and her middle name is Dominique. After, of course, Dominica, and that was our first child. And my only son, is named Makonnen after Selassie's father, Ras Makonnen.
I remember that year when we were coming along. Then that is when I bought the book from you.
Yes.
So I have that book there still.
Yes, indeed.
There's that somewhere in there I'll show you. Yes, that little.
So I credit her because she really forced me, but she persuaded me to digitize a lot of the old tapes I had of the early days of mapping television and from the 1980s and 90s. So that's on YouTube now. You can go to YouTube and see Dominican news from the 1990s and stuff.
Oh,
like that.
wow. Yes.
And I also found the interview I did with Eugenia Charles at my house, right here upstairs, where she's talking about her father and Marcus Garvey and her father and Booker T. Washington. So here we were thinking in the 1970s that we were the first purveyors in the 20th century of Black power philosophy. And Eugenia Charles, his father, she said to me, her father, J.B. Charles, went to the independence of Ghana and Nigeria.
Okay.
Because he was in the Garvey movement.
Okay, right.
And he worked closely with J. Ralph Casimir, who was a Garveyite, and brought Garvey to Dominica.
Right.
So had I not had that interview with Miss Charles, which later made its way into the book, Mahmoud, The Life and Times of Dame Mary Eugenia Charles, that would have been lost.
Yep. Well, that's why they say time is now, and now is the time, and the time is now. You know, because the only time that you have really is now. And you never leave what you can do now for another time, because it's so important that to get it done, you know. And what we're doing there is so very important, you know, because it serve to archive and to, you know, to document, you know, certain things you need to document, you know.
Yes.
Because there's so much, you know. I mean, for instance, my father passed, and he's had a lot of questions I had to ask him, because I was going with my tape and my stuff there, because it's certain things I wanted to get from him, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get it, and most of these peers, you know, seem to be disappearing. So I have to see who I could catch, you know. So I could.
So what you can do, I mean, as part of our whole effort to archive our history in music and in art and different elements of our society, you can identify people who I can maybe record, like I did with you this morning, and you know, so we can have this be part of our national treasure, you know.
Oh yeah.
But let us leave with a few words that you would like young Dominicans to embrace. I think you spoke to the importance of empathy and organization and working together and collaborative, and I totally agree with you in all of those things.
Yeah.
I think we need a culture that's less divided. I think this whole hyper-partisanship and political tribalism has not served us well.
No.
Because we are like a six-cylinder engine running on one cylinder, because we're not unified in our effort.
Yeah.
So give us some words of wisdom as someone who has been through music and it's art, the art form in way of crafting bouillon, the things you believe we should be doing in the musical arts, and what we should be doing in way of development of our country in general. Speak to that.
I think first of all, you know, you have to follow your dream, and you have to believe in your passion. Of course, they have all kind of technical words and stuff like that, and to go with it. But no, you know, you have to pursue your dreams, and of course, you must keep the creator at the helm. You know, and you have to have purpose, you know, in what you do. You know, and you should never be selfish. When you do it, you have to remember that, you know, it's not only you, you have future generations. So you have to leave something that is a treasure, something with value for them, you know, not something that will degrade them as a person, but something that will uplift them mentally, spiritually, physically as well, you know, just like how the Rastafari movement came in, Black Power movement came in, teach us how to eat, teach us the elements of love, respect, spirituality, you know, that's the things that we really need, you know, because there are certain things, we're talking about the now youths, you know, because we don't want to join the Americans, rappers that kind of lose their way, and they're talking about, even some way in the reggae field where we're just talking about guns, we're just talking about drinking alcohol, we're talking about just partying all night long, and we're not leaving nothing positive for the youths coming up. Because when we were kids just the other day, right? Just the other day we were little kids, and we watching our parents and say, "Oh, them people is old people," but we check it out now. Check our age and we checking, whoa, but them people wasn't that old for that. Now we're just thinking about our old man, our old queen, old, right?
Yeah.
So we have to realize that it's a stage that we're going through. So we have to prepare for the generations down the line. Let we not do like some people that say, oh, the youths and them, I fight for my own. The children and them will have to fight their way. No.
Yeah.
Some
That's
people do
ignorance.
that, but they doesn't practice that, right? They don't practice it. They tell you, oh, their children will fight for them, but no, they don't practice it if you look at them properly. You know, we have to think of generations down the line. We have to prepare ourselves for generational wealth. You know, we have to give them a start so they can build. For instance, if your dad didn't do what he do, or your mom didn't do what she did, you know, and I have to pick them up because your mom play a serious role in the those that will look down upon, you know. For instance, my cousin went to that place as well. We would deal with the blind. We would deal with those that those that couldn't really speak, those that couldn't hear properly, and you teach them craft and make them be handy and stuff like that. So your mom,
you're talking about our mother Alberta Christian, who was the manager.
Your mom, yes, your mom Gabriel, yes, your mom. I remember that. I remember going up when they built that place up, going up on the flat next to the hospital, Federation Drive. And when they build that place, and I mean, I was so very happy that she was doing that, you know. And your dad, of course, you know, kind of a militant kind of a vibe, you know. So I look at that, and these are the kind of examples that we want. I'm going to be the exact same thing, but you know, they're somewhat kind of a mentors to us, you know. So even though it was Gabriel's father, it was like my father too, you know. It's like your success is my success, and those are the type of things that we need to put in our vocabulary, you know.
I like what you said, you know, your success is my success, and vice versa. I can tell you that sometimes on a quiet day, you know, I will go on my computer or my television, and I will try to get to YouTube, and I see Ra on the truck. I say, that's my partner Ra from Good School Days, and I'm feeling very proud, you know. I'm feeling very proud because that success is, as you said, my success, because that's someone who comes, you know, we grew up together, you know, in roots, you know, and so I'm always proud for us to have played our own little party in Washington for the association, Sami and Boy and Gilbert and Cizo and all the others to come together, Gregory Lewis to organize, to brought you all here, and so we were part of the journey, you know.
Yeah, but I'm so very much appreciative of what you all did, because we didn't just do that because we wanted to be popular or we just wanted the money. We feel it's like a cultural exchange. You know, we sharing, we bring in Dominica then to Washington or to wherever, to London or to wherever. We bring in that vibe there, and we have Dominicans ready now to push that vibe. So that in itself was really, really much appreciated. And it was so good that we could remember that it's just like it just happened like a minute ago, you know? So as I was saying, you know, it's like, you know, we haven't got to be envious and jealous of one another. We have to be happy for one another. When you're successful, like I never knew you was going to be a lawyer, you was going to be this, or you was going to be that. But know that you're there, I feel as if, whoa, Gabo is me, you know, because when I look at you, I see a real reflection of me.
Yes.
You know? You know, maybe your house is not mine personally, but it's like mine.
Yes, of course.
You know, whatever money you have in your pocket is maybe not mine personally, but I feel it's like mine.
Yes.
Check. Yes. Because now, if you was in a, God forbid, you was in a bad situation, I would have feel, whoa, no, I don't like that. But where you are, it makes me happy. So now, looking at you makes me happy, and that's the kind of things that we need. We need to get back those kind of things back in our society, because we're losing those things rapidly. See the amount of killings that we have in, where, you know, in Dominica that was happening. When we hear one murder in 12 years or 7 years, one murder with people, oh God, boy, what a boy, oi, oi.
When we grew up, I only knew about 1 or 2 murders here.
Yeah, but right now, that coming like, it's a joke, and nobody says nothing.
Yeah.
You know, nobody cares. It's like something on a government head, nobody knows, nobody sees.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So all London Bridge is broken down.
Yes.
There's the kind of a thing, you know, I feel in, it's like we losing, and when we bring those facts to the table, people look at you as if, well, oh, you're not for us.
You know, Ra, what you've said is so powerful.
Right.
As you've spoken this morning, I'm thinking music is a soundtrack of life itself. Is it possible that you could get some musicians to come on a sort of Zoom program or some sort of streamed program, like Dominica Peace and Love? Let's bring a sort of concert of peace and love where we have poems or poets reading out their poems, persons who can speak to the issue, and musicians playing music that can really try to calm, because right now, as far as I'm concerned, we're in a crime emergency. And that has to be declared, because every day or every other day now, every other week, it's a murder, and that's not acceptable. And so maybe we can come together with a concert called Dominica Peace and Love. What are your thoughts?
Whoa, well, there is where I really going with that, because now you could tell definitely the powers that be are not interested in that. They have no love for that. They have no love for culture. They have no love for sports. They have no love for development and empowering people. And I'm not saying that because I am no side. I have no side. My side is just side. My side is a side of justice, love, peace, unity, togetherness, empowering. That is what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in party. I'm not interested. That's not my vibe. My vibe is to empower people.
It cannot be. As I always tell people, when people want to talk about Labour Party and Roseau, I just shake my head and I just...
Yeah, that's a fact, right? From what
I tell people, I don't want to bring it up, but that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know what's there. I don't know even what to call it, because there's no philosophy, there's no love, there's no understanding, there's no principle.
To me, and I don't want to cut you, but what I feel is so much division, no vision. There's not the vision, there is division. Get rid of D and just look at the vision, please. Let's get the vision. Because when I have to check the kind of a thing that Rosie was fighting for and we are struggling for, and I see what's happening now. For instance, and I do want to be political, but politics affects us all. The guy, date of birth is not celebrated or commemorated. His death is not talked about. It's like Rosie never exists. And to me, I feel very hurt about that for a person that has contributed so much. He gave his life like a martyr. My God, why don't we respect such people that with that patriotic kind of a feeling? And I see you there, I could see the tears running from inside. You don't have to maybe come out physical. I could see the tears running, and you're not the only one feel like that. And when you speak, people have it as if, well, you're in some kind of a political nonsense. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts for people that stand in the struggle, especially we the youths back in these days. We were kids back in the day. We were children back in the day, standing up for the struggle. Right now, we have people standing up for a grain of rice. That's what they're standing up for, and fighting with one another for a bone that has nothing on it, not even the marrow. My God, we need an awakening. We need a serious awakening. I mean, Gabo, if we have to talk, there's so many areas that we can talk.
Well, I'm saying, let's not even.
Interview. I don't feel that's an interview. I feel we just having
a conversation.
A conversation. That's what I feel. I'm not really having an interview. I feel I'm having a conversation right now. Yeah.
It's what I call a grounding among brethren.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't want to be rude because I think you were bringing a point across and I just ran across, and I mean,
no. I mean, yeah. Right now you're flowing, and you have to let the flow just flow, because you're flowing naturally, you see. And what you talk about the powers that be, that cannot be that has to be a grassroots thing. We cannot wait for the powers that be, because the powers that be is part of the problem. So we have to feel that we are part of the solution, and just ask people who are artists and who are writers, who are thinkers, who are lovers. I mean, I'm a lover, I'm not a hater, I mean, everything I want,
Oh yes.
everything I do,
Yes.
everything you do, it's about a consciousness and
Oh
love
yeah.
of people, love of country.
Oh yeah.
We could have just said, well, boy, we've left Dominica or whatever. No, but Dominica is inside of us.
Oh
As I
yeah.
said,
Oh yeah.
when the
They get
first
you out of the
daughter I
country, but the country is in you. You check. So
first
that's
child we
how it
had,
is. Physically you're out, but it's in you. It's in you. It's just like all your wealth. Your wealth is actually in you. You are the temple. Your wealth is in you. So you could leave this place right now where you have all your house, your fridge, your books, your this, your that, la 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 la, and all your baggage, right? And you move with just the being, but it's what's in here. What's from your head, top of your head to the sole of your feet, your whole being. Your vibration. When you touch people, I mean, a lot of time I listen to your programs and stuff like that. I say, boy, yeah, boy, I'm gonna get we was in class together. I hear him talking there, but if you know what I used to be drawing Marcus Malcolm X on my book with his glasses and thing, I used to be drawing that on my book and all that. I said, I wonder if he was conscious of that kind of a vibe back in the day when I was in it like that.
Yes.
So when I hear you, it's words cannot even describe the way I feel. It's all emotional, with intelligence and wisdom. It's not just emotional and I just feeling, no. It's emotional with intelligence and wisdom, with the total balance, So it's so good that we having a talk, and I think that is just one of the first set of talks we have in that kind of a vein. I mean, what you make mention about for us to do that concert, I working on something there then, and I figure you're one of the resource people that I'll be tapping into, because you'll be on the same wavelength with us. We're doing a thing with Your Wise Radio, with Mackenzie. There's another thing that I spread out again with working with Maggie. And we started some movement. We of course we'll discuss that as we go along further, right? And that will encompass the same thing that you're talking about, because it's a serious movement, it's the whole cultural movement, the whole lifestyle movement that we need to shake that up, and we need to put that in immediately to the youths that coming up there. We have to pass that on, because no, we cannot go with all that. Imagine
what
all
would be,
those
good.
kind of guys had gone with all that, and where would we be?
I'm gonna ask this question, because they're the bikers in Dominica now. I don't know them because they're youth that came after us, but it'd be good to try to get some of them on radio and to really have a conversation with them and find out where they're coming from. Find out where they're coming from. We may have lost our brother Derick Peters. We may have lost him, but I'm hoping we can get him back. And if we don't get him back, to those of you who will see this, understand that Derick and I, have known each other more than 50 years. We went to elementary school together and grew up in a time of great transformation in Dominica and Dominican society, when we're beginning to dawn the gap of independence and consciousness of our African ancestry, or Kalinago or Carib ancestry, and coming through a colonial experience and trying to gain an understanding of ourselves and begin to be possessed of that desire for self-determination and independence and self-reliance and pride in our ancestry, pride in our society, one that we created, that we had respect for ourselves, respect for our culture, to be creative, create new art forms, not only in literature, but music, film, and the like. And so this here was an engagement. We may have ended a bit abruptly. He may have lost power where he is on Dominica, but we're thankful. I see that he's coming on here. Ra, I'm looking for you. I understand. I'm looking for you on the laptop, but I'm not seeing you. Let me see if I can find you.
Because I cut off because the battery went dead.
I see.
I thought the thing, but you see what you got there, right?
I have it saved. I have it saved. So
Okay, good.
what I will do, I will conclude. Just say a few last words. I will be able to get it on audio. Say a few last words.
Okay, yeah. Well, what I want to do is to thank you, Gabriel, for that I call it a conversation, not an interview. And I know that's not the end of it. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that we need to cover. So I hope in very soon that we could continue. So it won't be my last words, but will be just a few words in closing that conversation, which will be opening up in the next conversation. So I want to thank you very much, and all those who are listening to this program right now, or the interview, that it will serve up some purpose of gaining some knowledge and getting some understanding of exactly what's happening there. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And power to the people. More power to you. More power to peace and love. Indeed, peace and love to our countrymen and women at home and abroad and to the whole world. Let's live in that spirit of oneness and unity, and let's get rid of the crime and the dishonesty and the killings, and let's get back to the root of compassion for each other, our love and our kindness one towards another. And so I give thanks for your service, my brother. I give thanks for your brilliance, and all the brothers in WCK who worked with you, all of you working together to produce great music that brought joy to our hearts. Give thanks, one love, God bless.
God bless. Bless up.
Bless up.
All right.
All right.